And welcome back to Jeff Koinage live at Citizen Television. We've been talking all evening with the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Office of the President, Waita, former Safaricom Director of Corporate Affairs. And I tell you, maybe we don't tell our stories well enough. Maybe we're too tough on this government. I don't know. Because if you look at Twitter, Facebook, text, a lot of people are dissatisfied with the progress of Jubilee, and yet the effects are right there. Listen to Deputy President William Ruto the other day when the government launched this delivery portal. Take a listen.
Doing things that should have been done several years ago, and that is why we are unashamed of picking up from where others left and build on it and take the country forward.
Tweets coming in thick and fast. Pick up and take the country forward. And Zioka, look, you know, we are tough on you guys because we can be, and we should be, and holding you guys accountable. For instance, someone's asking, before we get to SGR, which I want to talk about after the break, someone's asking, what did you do with the Eurobond money? Not you, but you all.
Yeah. You know, that's, again, a very simple question. Eurobond money goes into the exchequer, into the consolidated fund, and it is building roads, it's powering homes, it's refurbishing hospitals, it's in the core of our economy, because that is what government does. There's nothing called a Eurobond account on the budget line. You know, you have money that you raise domestically, you have money that comes from taxes and revenue collected, you have money that you go out and look for, you know, and Eurobond is one of those innovative financial tools where you can get large tranches of money at an affordable cost.
David D says you all mishandled it, misappropriated. It was maybe even siphoned off, stolen.
You know, I love that you've asked me that question, because, you know, every village has one of those people. You know that guy, that one guy in the village who really just should rather be a returning officer in his party than moonlight as an economist. You know, and somebody needs to call it out for what it is. The simple reason that you have a spread in the paper every once in a while, you know, and you write your thoughts very politically tainted, I think Kenyans should really be circumspect when you read economics that are written in boardrooms of political protagonists, not just by their policy makers, but by their actual officials, somebody who is a returning officer. You know, I think let's leave the voodoo economics aside. You know, they gave Kenya a doomsday scenario. Oh, Kenya is not growing. Even at 5.5, even if the World Bank has revised this growth rate to 5.5, you're outstripping the world. The world is growing at an average of 3%, right? And if you look at even on the continent, countries that were previously relying heavily on commodities like petroleum and stuff, they're doing even worse. So, you know, to perform at 5.5%, strong and consistently from 2013, you know, is hallmark of, number one, financial prudence, right? Economics that makes sense, right? I think the real challenge that we should separate is, let's move away from these big numbers and the macros, you know, and let's talk about the Mwananchi and, you know, His Excellency, what he said on Monday in about, give us time, because roads will open up marketplaces. People will be able to move their stuff instead of women in Jabini waking up at 4 in the morning, you know, to go through that matope, to come to the road to Kinale and then come to the Marikiti at 5 in the morning. You know, the roads from where they are growing the potatoes and the carrots are being done. You know, what will that do for the price of food? What will that do for the money and the pockets of these people? And when Wanjiku, so let's forget about this guy and his voodoo economics.
Okay, when Wanjiku says that she's poorer today than she was 5 years ago, how do you explain that?
I think there are real challenges, Jeff, and some of these are cyclical challenges. You know, the average inflation rate has been roughly around 6.5%, the annualized inflation rate, right? Today, we are going through an exceptional period. You know, we've had 6 months of the most devastating famine that we've seen in the region, all the way from Botswana coming up into parts of Ethiopia and, of course, our neighbors. Now, the last time we saw this was 2011, when we had Kenyans for Kenya. And even then, Jeff, the price of unga was north of 130. You know, there's a myth about the price of unga was 80 bob. It wasn't 80 bob. It was over 130 shillings in 2011, which is why Kenyans raised, if you recall, over 1 billion shillings on M-Pesa.
Yeah, I remember.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's not forget that we've gone through this time, and we will go through it. And this government will see the people through. We will do what we can to get the price of basics down, you know? And we will do what we can. But there needs to be an element of patience. Because some of these challenges that we are facing today are they're temporary, they're transient, and they will pass.
Yeah. Are you sure you're going to get another 4 years, 5 years to continue this?
Jeff, it is, you know, we're not presumptive. You know, the Kenyan people will decide whether President Uhuru and his deputy William Ruto will get another 5 years. But remember, we've not done 5 years. Everything you've seen, the road I was telling you about, Turbi, Moyale, Sololo, you know, these things, the projects that we're looking at in terms of other infrastructure, the SGR, and these are things that have been done in 4 years. Because President Kenyatta is not getting a 5-year term because of the rulings that were made in the transition to the new constitution. So we've had a very concentrated, very, I don't know what the word is, you know, I was told, wacha kizungu mingi. We've had to do many things simultaneously. You know, previous government could focus on 1 or 2 elements of the medium-term plan. But, you know, we took an accelerated approach because we want the next 5 years to be about realizing this investment.
It's called fast track.
Yeah.
Kizungu.
Yo.
Asante. So, you're talking about the present drought, right? Real quick, before we get to SGR, and we have to get to the present drought. Someone said that Galana project was a big joke. It's a big joke. 1 million acres, you haven't even done what? 110,000. You haven't even got there. And now, what's growing there, by the way? What's there now?
Again, let's take a step back. You know, the maize that was distributed in Ganze during the drought, all that maize came from Galana. You know, it's even in the papers. You just go and have a look. All that maize came from Galana. But I
thought it came from Mexico.
No, Mexico and Ukraine, that is maize that will be imported now that the import window has been opened, and other countries where we can get good quality maize that meets our standards to get the prices down. You know, and the minister has been very clear about that his intention is to really try and bring the prices down for Mwananchi, not to keep an import window open forever. But I digress. Galana Kulalo is a fantastic project that will bode well for the future of this country. For the simple reason that in the last 3 years, since we started the implementation together with the Israeli government, right, we've been able to study the water flows of the Galana River. We've been able to tap in and do water works for 30,000 acres. Right? We've currently got just 10,000 acres of the pilot farm. In that 10,000 acres, over the last 3 years, we have tested close to 16 varieties of maize, different soil types, 20 different soil types, different levels of water sedimentation, really just to see, is it realistic for us to be able to scale up, right, to that million acres, right? And some of the things that we've discovered, we moved from yields of 9-10 bags an acre. By the time we did the last variety of maize, I think we were just north of 40 bags an acre. Now, the potential is there. There are some setbacks to Galana, one of which is to scale up to about 400,000 acres. We need to rethink the dam process without causing an ecological problem.
Yeah, the water can sustain it.
Yeah, we have to think about the ecological impact of doing Galana in full scale and without the involvement of other stakeholders. So it's very important for us now to start looking at the pastoralist communities, the Oromos and Pokomos on both sides, starting to talk with the county governments in those areas, Tana River, Kilifi, and really just seeing how this dam, at concept stage, we have something called the High Grand Falls Dam, but that's still at fairly conceptual stage. The intention of that will be to start stepping down the dams slowly from where the feeder areas in central Kenya and north of central Kenya that feed into the Galana, and be able to progressively dam enough water to open up agricultural potential, because during the rainy season we lose all that water, right? And that is a logical step. Maybe we were over ambitious in saying we could pull it off in 5 years, but have we learned some really important stuff? Yes, we have.
Is it going to stay? Are you going to continue it, or will this be a white elephant?
The best news ever is after our 10,000 acres, we are farming it out to private sector. because we would want people to come in. We will give them the land on lease basis. We will agree on some of the commodities and the things that need to be grown. There are areas within that 1 million acre ADC farm that are good for ranching. Some are sesefly infested, so you can't really do commercial beef. They can be game sanctuaries and things of that nature. So there is a very solid plan for this, Jeff.
Okay, SGR. 500 kilometers, 350 billion Kenya shillings.
Yes.
Afshan Chowdhury says, and she's done the math, it comes to about 4.5 million a kilometer.
Yes.
Are we what is this?
Jeff, you know, I'll tell you a story. In 1895, there was a company called British East Africa. Right? British East Africa were, you know, they were traders, guys who ran away from England to come and look for better opportunities here. They met up with the Arabs in the coast. They were tired of buying things from brokers in Mombasa and in Malindi and in Lamu. So they got this bright idea to do a railway to Uganda.
It was also a lunatic idea, if I recall my history.
It became a lunatic idea for two reasons. One, because the foresight of the commercial people, because they could see the potential. They wanted to know, where is this ivory coming from? These Wakambas who are bringing all these the gems and ivory and hides and spices and all sorts of nice things from the hinterland. They wanted to go to source. So they started building this railway. Around Samburu, if you know that road very well, they quammed. And they quammed because first of all, there was lions, but they got broke. They underestimated the cost of building that railway. So what subsequently happened is that when they became a global interest in Africa, when the scramble for Africa became very intense and everybody saw what was going on in the region, the Brits had this very bright idea, and they said, Apana, as government, Her Majesty's or His Majesty's government at the time, we want to take an interest in this railway because we want to be commercially superior. The Germans were next door in Tanzania. So they made it strategic. But they called it the Lunatic Express because British MPs could not fathom what this line was going to do for them.
Just like Kenyans right now, 120 years later.
120 years later, first of all, the Brits are very happy that they built the railway because otherwise they would never have had control over this region for so many years and, you know, gotten whatever it is they got until independence. But the lesson to be learned here is that let's take a step back and ask ourselves, as a country in the 21st century, is it acceptable for us not to have modern day infrastructure? Is it acceptable for people who commute across the country not to have access to cheaper cost of transport and commute? There is nothing exceptional about the cost of the SGR. There is nothing exceptional. I've had comparisons being made to the Ethiopian rail. It's a different rail system. It's a different sub-base. It's a different product at the end of the day. Like every road, you can have a low volume sill road, you can have additional layers of tarmac. What we are getting here is a standard gauge rail on the first class base with a double stack capacity.
Run by what? Diesel or electricity?
It will be run by diesel, and really the practicality of it was, if we now try to electrify that railway, we had a major logistical problem. Do you know there had been no functional transmission line for electricity from Suswa to Mombasa? Now, was that a Jubilee problem? No. We found that the previous administrations had not seen it fit to put Mombasa on the grid. Mombasa had been consuming diesel for decades. Right? It is this administration that has secured the waylift from Suswa, from Okaria now, right? And has taken this waylift round Nairobi, you know, and I can map you that route up until Old Tepesi, round Kipeto, all the way down into Masaini, Kitengela, down until Mombasa, right? That transmission line was not there. How are you going to power the SGR when that transmission line was not there?
So do we get value for money?
But we do have a plan to electrify it. So all is not lost. It's just that, look, let's take what we can get.
So
now.
this can be upgraded?
Yes, it can.
This is not substandard?
No, it isn't.
Some of the cars we've been seeing, I don't know if they're real or...
You've seen 3 types of cars. You've seen shunting, the shunting ones. The shunting ones they're really, they're ugly.
Yeah, they're very ugly.
And they're designed to be ugly. And across the world, there are no beautiful shunting trains,
Yes.
Whether in America, whether in Japan, or whether, there are no beautiful shunting trains.
Right.
You then have cargo trains. A cargo train does not need to be aesthetically appealing. It doesn't. It needs to be functional.
Yeah.
It needs to be a power plant that moves and carries double stacks. What one of our cargo trains can do is what 30 trucks on the road today, 18-wheeler trucks can do. Think of the traffic that you take off Mombasa Road. Think of what life will be on that road if you're a regular commuter. I happen to commute on that road quite regularly.
Yes.
That railway, Jeff, will transform, first of all, our cargo, our strategicness as a country, a trading destination, as a transshipment destination. It will also change our relationship with countries in the hinterland. Because Kenya is the gateway for Central African Republic, even for parts of Uganda, which are not served by other regions, Burundi, parts of Eastern Congo, South Sudan.
Are they all going to adapt to the same standard gauge?
Yes, there is an EAC protocol on that.
Right, because there was talk that Uganda might not, or they have a different system of rail.
No. I think there's a lot of goodwill. I think, again, let's not... our neighbors are very committed to an integrated East African transport network.
Yeah.
And, the logistics of how to do it, we may not always agree, but the standard gauge rail is generally...
And bottom line, this is a game changer. This is going to transform lives. Is that what you're saying?
It will not only transform lives, it will transform fortunes. Not only... there's this story that they've been telling in Mombasa, that this SGR is going to kill jobs in Mombasa. It's sad that we poison our people with lies. Because, Jeff, since 2013, the port of Kilindini has had 2 additional berths. The effect of those new berths, built by this administration, was to take the handling capacity double. We used to handle roughly about 850,000 20-foot equivalent containers. Today we are just north of 1.6 going to 1.7. The activity at the port is so vibrant. It's so vibrant, The fact of the matter is that because we've now got an internal container depot, a logistics facility planned for Nairobi, will not hurt anything in Mombasa, because the container will not fly from the ship to the train. They still work to be done by the Kenya Ports Authority. In fact, there's 2 new additional berths that are being built at KPA Kilindini that we just closed down. We've closed financing with our partners. Now, that will increase jobs in Mombasa, but it will create new jobs at the ICD in Nairobi, because 70% of the cargo that comes into Kenya comes to Nairobi, gets onto trucks, and then is sambazwad all over. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Monica, let's go to some tweets as we wind up. What do we have here? Tweets first, okay? So, Moses Linus, you say, development is something visible. You don't have to put it on a platform to be seen. It's a waste of time and resources. He's referring to your razzmatazz, port, all that you do, yeah? Francis Makocha, you say, government succeeded on security and energy but failed socially. Debt, corruption, and cost of living. Major failures. Coletta, you say, out of 10, I would give them a 5, meaning Jubilee. These guys have greatly improved infrastructure in Kenya, but corruption brings them down. Okay. Rogers, you say, I think they have delivered. Roads are almost perfect compared to previous regime. All right. Some text. Do we have some texts? Okay, SMS line 22422, you say, hey, mom in the village has electricity. The road in Kisumu town is under construction. No more shock absorber replacement. Okay. Yes, referring to delivery, but the war on corruption has been hampered by a non-functional judiciary. And the last one here, most of the projects claimed were initiated by grand coalition government. Do you agree with that, Zioka?
You know, we have nothing. You know, there are roads which had to be completed. You know, Thika Road was designed under President Jomo Kenyatta's administration. You know, President Kibaki built it. So what's the problem?
Yeah.
There's no problem.
Real quick.
A responsible government is a government in perpetuity. We must continue the work of previous administrations and complete them.
Real quick, when is Outer Ring going to be ready? Do you know?
Our hope, really, sincerely, our hope is really to get it off by later this year, maybe towards August, September. There are, you know, it's a fairly complex project because it's being done in the middle of current traffic in very dense areas, and it is our hope we can open it to commercial traffic before August. You know, I hate using this August timeline because the impression is that you're only trying to do the road before elections. But if that helps the people who live around Outer Ring, from Kayole, from Tena Estate, from the guys in Koma, going all the way to Tala, I mean, this road is important.
Okay. Zioka, we're going to look at the poll one last time, and then I'll let you have the last word, okay? We've been asking you all evening, has the Jubilee administration delivered on its promises? Right now, it stands at 39% say yes, 61% say no.
Can we have another hour on the show?
Zioka, you get the final word. That's your camera over there. Go ahead.
Jeff, you know, when I asked you whether you had gone to Nuno or you'd seen Nuno, it was for a reason. This portal is not razzmatazz to brag, or it's not something that is designed to magically create projects and programs across the country. As a responsible government, we have a duty to be transparent to our people, taxpayers. We have a duty to be accountable for what we do with our resources. But more importantly, you know, it's an equalizer, because we must take advantage of the fact that there are over 20 million people with access to the internet. So somebody today sitting in Ramu, in Mandera, has an interest to know whether the Kitui, Mutomo, Kibwezi Road is under construction. You know, somebody sitting in Chilingwa, in Keyo, should want to be able to know whether in Nairobi that whether these bypasses will ever be done. You know, and sharing this information. First of all, people should just relax. Don't be scared. You know, the fact that the government has laid out what it's done should not cause any alarm. I think let us go step by step. If you have an issue with a particular project and you think maybe you started it and you want to know why we finished it, you know, we can answer that question. But more importantly, Kenyans across the country should have a right to see how the rest of the country is developing. We will be updating this portal on a weekly basis. We committed to answering questions that are directed to the portal, whether on the portal itself or whether through our social media, within 48 hours. We would want to get this down to 12 hours so that we can answer in real time the questions and queries that people have. Okay, real quick. You guys had another portal a while back on corruption. Yes. The president said report any corruption you see on this not line, on this link. Yes. Anything happened? It didn't work. You know, some things you win, some things you lose, Jeff. Okay. Nature of life. All right. Joko Waita, we wish you all the best. Asante. Come back here and talk some more. Asante. Any regrets about leaving Safaricom? No regrets at all. I thank those people because they built me. They made me who I am. I am most grateful. But it is an honor and a privilege to work for Kenyans. It's an honor and a privilege to work alongside public servants who love their country, who are patriots, and who are committed to making this country great. You're going to run for office one day? No. No. Smart man. I'm a backroom guy. Backroom guy? Zioka Waita. If you didn't know who he was, now you do. He is the Deputy Chief of Staff at the Office of the President in charge of delivery. We can continue answering that question all night long. Has the Jubilee government delivered on its promises? So far, 39% say yes, 61% say no. Keep tweeting and texting 22422. Twitter handles at Zioka Waita, at Koinage Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, if it's Wednesday, it's all about those three letters on the alphabet or the keyboard that follow each other. JKL. Thanks so much for joining us. By the way, JKL is powered
by Telkom Kenya. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Good night, good luck. God bless. By the way, happy Easter.
Baraka tele.
Nawe pia. Asante sana.
Asante.